Sporting Journal Radio, presented by Onyx.
Gold is the color at Lake of the Woods. You can fish, as Dan said in the last episode of Prairie Sportsman, you can fish any color in Lake of the Woods as long as it's gold. But as we're finding out, you can fish with real gold, and that's from Al's Goldfish Lure Company. And we're going to talk to some representatives of Al's right now. Thank you for coming on the show right now. Karen, let's start with you real quick. Tell us, because you brought us, I'm assuming you kind of brought us up here, right? You brought Al's up here? All right. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I handle the public relations for Al's Goldfish, and I have a public relations company. So we kind of put this together with the lodge and with St. Croix, and wanted to bring a bunch of meaty people up here, and this is the perfect place for ice fishing.
Perfect place for ice fishing and perfect place for gold.
For gold, yes. And the gold performed. The gold performed really well.
So we were fishing the first day. It was Dan and I, and we were trying out some lures. We were getting cameras set up, and we were fishing, but we were kind of working a little bit, and it's kind of slow. We were marking fish, but they were real tentative, real passive. Karen walks in the door. Hey, I'm going to fish with you guys today. Before we could even say welcome to the house, she had a fish hooked up. Like immediately walks in, drops a hook down, catches a fish. What did you catch that on?
I caught that on the 49er.
The 49er.
A pink 49er. It was a glow 49er. And it's one of the ice fishing popular ones. They glow, but any 49er was working.
Yeah.
Actually, any of the
all the Al stuff worked.
All of them were working. Everybody was winning with the Al's Goldfish.
So full disclosure, we're at Lake of the Woods. I brought my Lake of the Woods tackle up here. I brought a bunch of different things that I've caught fish on up here with. I'm like, I'll try Al's. We want to get some fish on camera, so I'm just going to bring everything just in case. If fishing is slow, I'm gonna tie on something else. I tied on the original Goldfish, caught fish on that. I switched to the 49er. I didn't take it off. Like I fished with it the entire 2 days and caught piles and piles of fish on it.
So we had people using the Helgi, using the Goldfish.
The Helgi worked too, yeah.
Yes, I mean in every color. It didn't matter. I mean they were all working.
All right, so you introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
I'm Tom Peterson. I'm a sales rep in the Midwest area.
All right, and you have been coming to Lake of the Woods for a while, right?
I grew up in Minnesota. I lived in St. Paul. My family comes up here, and I've been fishing Lake of the Woods since I was a child.
When did you learn about Al's, and when did you put the like 2 and 2? When did the light bulb go off like gold on Lake of the Woods?
This is going to be a funny story because it's been published before.
All right.
I was actually looking for a promo lure for a group that I go to Canada with. And at the time, they sent me a couple of original Al's Goldfish. And I went out, and this is springtime in Ontario, and I said, I'll try these things, never seen them before. We're going to try this lure out. And I'm not lying, 20 minutes later, I had a 42-inch muskie on the original Al's Goldfish.
42-incher?
42-inch muskie on the original Al's Goldfish, half-ounce Goldfish. At that time, I looked at it, and this is another little funny thing, right? Because I smoke cigars, so I had to have a cigar, right? And I had a cigar in my mouth at the time when I hooked said fish, and I put the cigar down, and in the meantime of catching said fish, I ran around the boat a half a dozen times and stepped on said cigar.
Ouch.
So I caught said fish, took pictures. They're on Al's Goldfish.com's site, and I lit up another Victory cigar, and it went around a corner 10 minutes later and caught a 38. Guess what happened?
You stepped on the cigar.
I went around the boat a half a dozen times and stepped on my Victory cigar.
That's funny.
And that's how I got in with Al's Goldfish.
Okay. And you've probably figured out that would be a great lure to use here. When did you know that there was real gold on those?
I did not at that time, no.
Did you, you hear about it, and when you first hear about it, you think, well, there's gold on there. It's kind of a gimmicky thing, whatever. No, when you look at that hook, like the shine, the flash, the reflection on it, it's I've never seen anything like it, really.
Correct. Yeah, and in fact, when we were at the ice show a couple of years ago in St. Paul, we actually built some items with the 3/16-ounce goldfish with hooks to give to the brides.
Well, it was fitting since it was Valentine's Day while we're up here. That's great. And I also made so many jokes about pawning all these lures off after we got done fishing. Like, they're made of gold. I'm just going to take them straight to the pawn shop. They're not that expensive. Like, you'd think something that's plated in 22 karat gold, you'd think that would be kind of an expensive lure, especially as fishing lures get more and more expensive these days.
Correct.
It's not that bad.
They're all under $10.
Yeah. So the guy at the pawn shop's not
he could make a living.
He's probably not going to give me a lot of money. That's great. All right, so 70 years. Just real briefly talk about where Al's is from. Whichever one of you guys wants to tell that story.
Okay, well, Al's was started back in the 50s, and I'll be as brief as I can. Al Stewart started the company back in the 50s. His daughter took it over in the 80s and started a promo section, which I kind of got in with Al's in the original part. And then in the 90s, it kind of went downhill a little bit. It's still a cult classic in the Northeast. Really hadn't made its way here into the Midwest in a big way since the 50s. And then in the early 2000s, it was brought back in, and that's when we started plating in gold, in 22 karat gold. And we're also nickel plated, copper plated, all brass lures, all made in the United States. Everything is plated in New England.
Did you guys plan this? 70 years for St. Croix, 70 years for Al's, both made in the United States. Was this? I mean, obviously they go well together, but that's it's perfect.
And then roughly 3 years ago, Mandy and Jeff DeBoyne bought the company, and we're really making a push into the Midwest, into the ice fishing arena. We had the ice jigs before, really weren't pushed because in New England, where they were primarily sold at that time, ice fishing is only a 1-month season. It's just not a big thing you can do for as long as we can here in the Midwest, in the upper Midwest.
Yeah, it's like 12-month season here.
Pretty close. Well, if you ask Karen, it's 12 months up here.
Yeah, well,
yeah, it's totally 12 months up here because I'm from South Texas and it's cold up here all the time.
Well, come back in July, all right?
When the mosquitoes are big as butterflies.
Yeah, no, it may not be frozen 12 months out of the year, but I feel like the ice fishing industry is just about year round. Really, that's how big it is. Or fishing in general you talk about pushing the ice fishing jigs. What's like the total lineup for Al's? Like, what all do they offer?
They offer, pretty much everything.
You guys there's 2 microphones there, by the way. You guys can...
Go ahead, you can talk.
You guys can blow that
they
one.
They offer everything. From saltwater fishing to freshwater to trout. We've got ice, the ice fishing. So they offer everything. We've got something for your entire fishing career. So whatever you need for fishing, we've got it. And it will catch your fish.
Well, we caught walleyes, saugers, everything. Perch, tullabies. And did that crappie? Do we know what they caught that crappie?
She caught that on a goldfish.
So there you go.
There was a crappie. There was pike. We got it all pretty much today.
Well, it was fun. I'm glad we got to try it out because obviously it was successful for us, and they're very interesting. And that gold it just has a different look to it, I think, in the water.
And they're made in the U.S.
And
it's really interesting the way they flutter in the water.
Right.
When we looked at the Al's goldfish, if you jig that guy, it would come up and then it flutters down. If you fish the 49er, it darts out.
Well, that shape of that 49er, I think, is what makes it so successful.
It is.
And the other interesting thing about it, when you were describing it to us the first night, I think in Minnesota, the majority of us, if we're using any kind of ice jig, a lot of times we're just throwing a minnow head on our jig. And you said, no, don't do that.
Yeah, I said use a minnow tail. Because the dart out, and you don't want to impede that action. With the minnow head, we found, looking at the cameras, that stopped the action. However, I stand corrected
today.
There's no rules.
There was no rules because we saw minnows hooked through the nose on the 49er. We saw them hooked through the tail, and sometimes two minnows on there.
Double minnows.
Oh boy!
And they were all catching fish.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. That's the beauty of Lake of the Woods. Sometimes too, I think sometimes there's so many fish and they get so hungry down there. You can catch them a lot of different ways, and it was fun to try those out. So, Tom and Karen, thank you very much for the time today on the show. And where can we find Els online?
alsgoldfish.com.
alsgoldfish.com. All right, very good.
Hear more at sportingjournalradio.com or wherever you get podcasts.
Keeping sheep on the mountain. That's the goal of the Wild Sheep Foundation, and you can help by attending the Midwest chapter of the Wild Sheep Foundation's annual banquet, March 25th and 26th at the Minneapolis Marriott Southwest in Minnetonka. This year, you could win your very own Dall sheep hunt in the Yukon. Plus, enjoy keynote speakers like conservationist Shane Mahoney, President and CEO of the Wild Sheep Foundation, Gray Thornton, and the British Columbia Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Chapter Liaison, Bill Hanlon. Plus, there'll be live and silent auctions and seminars put on by the Huntin' Fool. For more information, go to MidwestWildSheep.com.